Hello class, today we are going to start with a new topic, and the topic is ischemic heart disease. Before we go into what ischemic heart disease is, what we need to know is what ischemia is. So this is your normal blood vessel, and this lines they indicate your normal flow of blood. Okay, normal blood vessels with normal flow of blood. Now let us consider a blood vessel in which there is blockage. Now this is your blockage in your blood vessel, or a blood vessel in which there is a narrowing of your blood vessel. Under both conditions, okay, that is condition number one, wherever there is a blockage or occlusion occurring, or condition number two, wherever there is a narrowing of your blood vessel. What generally happens is, what you can generally see is, there is going to be disruption in your normal blood flow. Okay, so your normal blood flow is getting disrupted, right? In both your cases, the disruption is there in your blood cases, and along with that there is decrease in your supply of your blood. So in such a cases, in a case in which any case in which there is disruption in your normal flow of blood and decrease in your supply, is a condition known as ischemia. Disruption in your normal blood flow, which generally leads to decreased supply in your blood, is known as ischemia. So what is ischemic heart disease? Ischemic heart disease is a condition in which your vascular supply to heart is impeded by atheroma, thrombosis, or spasm of coronary artery. Your vascular supply, which blood vessel is affected? Generally your coronary arteries. Why coronary arteries? Because coronary artery supplies oxygenated blood to your heart. And how is it getting affected? It is getting affected by your atheromas, thrombosis, or your spasms occurring in your blood vessel. Your ischemic heart disease is also known as coronary artery disease, and coronary artery disease is responsible, or is your leading cause of deaths generally in your developed countries. Ischemic heart disease is also known as your coronary artery disease, and it is one of your leading causes of deaths in your developed countries. And this is your diagram of your heart. As you know, heart always undergoes work, and when any cells undergoes work, they need energy. So where does your myocyte get energy from? So your myocytes, they get energy by a process of oxidative phosphorylation, and this oxidative phosphorylation generally occurs in your mitochondria of your myocytes. For your process of oxidative phosphorylation to take place, or for your mitochondria to undergo the process of oxidative phosphorylation, it needs one major thing, that is your oxygen. So for your cardiac cells, or for your myocytes to undergo or to perform its work, it needs a continuous supply of oxygen. So in normal conditions of your heart, or under normal conditions, what happens is, your cells, they have certain oxygen demand. This oxygen demand is always fulfilled by your oxygen supply. So we can say they are generally under balance. But whenever there is disbalance between your oxygen supply, there is decreased oxygen supply, so your oxygen demand is not met, under this conditions you can say your cell has undergone ischemia. So in case of your ischemic heart disease, and your syndromes related to it is caused by myocardial ischemia. So it is your imbalance between your cardiac blood supply and myocardial oxygen and nutritional requirements. Since your myocardium is not receiving proper amount of blood, so there is going to be decrease in your oxygen, as well as there is going to be decrease in your nutrients. Next is your etiopathogenesis. Okay, your ischemic heart disease is majorly caused by inadequate coronary perfusion, that is inadequate supply of blood to your myocytes. So because there is inadequate supply of your blood, your myocardial demands are not being met, and this inadequate supply leads to imbalance of your supply and your demand, and your imbalance occurs basically because of your pre-existing atherosclerotic plaque in your coronary arteries, or your changes, that is your superimposed thrombosis and or vasospasm along with it. Now it is divided into three broad headings. Your etiology can be divided into three broad headings, which is 1. Coronary atherosclerosis. Second is your superadded changes in coronary atherosclerosis, and thirdly, non-atherosclerotic causes. We are going to talk about all these points one after another. First is your coronary atherosclerosis. We are talking, since this is related to ischemic heart disease, ischemia has to occur in your heart. So your heart is being supplied by your coronary arteries. So your atherosclerosis has to be in your coronary arteries. Whenever we talk about causes of your ischemic heart disease, 90% of your ischemic heart disease is because of your formation of your atherosclerosis. Okay, again, major cause, that is more than 90% of your formation of your ischemic heart disease is because of your atherosclerotic plaques in your coronary arteries. Since we are talking about your coronary arteries, your atherosclerotic plaques, they are generally divided, or you can say they are distributed in either one or more than one of the three major coronary arterial trunks. Okay, deposition of your atherosclerotic plaque may be there in either one or more than one coronary arterial trunks, your major coronary arterial trunks. And those major coronary arterial trunks are, number one, it would be your it is your left anterior descending coronary artery, or number two, it is your circumflex branch of your left coronary artery, and third one is your right coronary artery. So atherosclerotic deposition may be in one or more than one of your major branches of your coronary arteries, which are left anterior descending coronary artery, circumflex branch of your left coronary artery, and then your right coronary arteries. Whenever we talk about this, see, about 1/3 of the cases normally of your ischemic heart disease have single vessel disease. That is, only one single blood vessel is affected, and most often in this case it is associated with your left anterior descending coronary artery. The next is another 1/3 is because of your two vessel disease. So in this case, any two of your blood vessels is affected. And lastly, you have your remaining 1/3 is because of your three vessel disease, in which all 1, 2 and your 3 major trunks are affected. Apart from this, the areas in which your deposition of your atherosclerotic plaque generally occur. So generally this atherosclerotic plaque generally occurs in case of your areas of your ostia, that is your coronary ostia, or in case of areas of your bifurcation, where there is separation of your arteries. So bifurcations or your ostias. And this we have already talked about when we were doing your atherosclerosis. So two major areas, either in case of your ostias or in case of your areas of your bifurcations. Right, so three major trunks: left anterior descending, left circumflex, right coronary artery, and your areas is around in your coronary ostia as well as near your bifurcation of your arteries. See, this is just your diagram showing you your areas where occlusion is there, and this is your affected area where occlusion is there. And because of occlusion occurring here, the entire zone where your blood vessels are being stopped is under risk. Second, had it been this area under risk would be these. So depending upon where your blockage is, you'll also get your area of risk as well, because occlusion occurring over here impedes your perfusion in this areas, in this myocytes. If occlusion was here, your perfusion to these areas by your arteries would be affected. Second cause is your superadded changes in coronary atherosclerosis. Now, when we talk about superadded changes in your coronary atherosclerosis, there's already an atherosclerotic plaque. A pre-existing atherosclerotic plaque is there. Okay, so in this case, there is a pre-existing coronary atheroma plaque, or you can say a pre-existing coronary atherosclerotic plaque is there, and to this plaque, these plaque undergoes changes. Due to these changes occurring in your atherosclerotic plaque, gives rise to acute coronary syndromes such as your acute myocardial infarction, unstable angina, and sudden ischemic deaths. Okay, the changes to your pre-existing atherosclerotic plaque will cause acute coronary syndromes, which are myocardial infarction, acute myocardial infarction, unstable angina, and sudden ischemic deaths. So this is your diagram showing you your atherosclerotic plaque. You can see your atheromomus plaque. So generally your atherosclerotic plaque, they have different things. First and foremost, this is your dysfunctional endothelial layer, right, followed by next part, which is your next would be your fibrous cap. This is your fibrous cap. Your fibrous cap is majorly made up of your smooth muscles. Along with your smooth muscles, what they have is, okay, this is your fibrous cap. Along with your fibrous cap, what do you have? You have your deposition of your macrophages. There's deposition of your collagen. There's deposition of your foam cells, and finally there's your core. This is your core of your atherosclerotic plaque. Now in case of your core, you have your lipid deposition, you have your foam cells, you have your macrophages, you have your crystals, your cholesterol crystals, and in this case your acute changes to this plaque, okay, generally occurs by, see, your changes generally occurs by rupture, fissuring, or ulceration. Okay, so acute changes is because of rupturing, fissuring, and ulceration. So they are basically, whenever we talk about plaques, okay, there is a vulnerable plaque and there is a stable plaque. Normally this, your super added changes does not occur in your stable plaque. Okay, super added changes occur to your vulnerable plaques. You have your atherosclerotic plaque. An atherosclerotic plaque may either be stable plaque or it may be vulnerable plaque. So your super added changes, it only occurs in your vulnerable plaque. So what makes a plaque vulnerable, right? Since we are talking about vulnerable plaques, what makes a plaque vulnerable? So let's see what makes a plaque vulnerable. First and foremost, see your diagram. Okay, of your diagram and your differences between your vulnerable plaque and your stable plaque. First and foremost, your core. Let's go to the core. This is your core of your this is your core. This is your core of your atherosclerotic plaque. See the difference in the core? There is greater deposition of fats, so you can see greater deposition of lipids in case of vulnerable plaque. First and foremost, a vulnerable plaque, they have a greater deposition of fats or lipids. First point. Second, let's look at your fibrous caps. So in case of your, this is your fibrous cap made up of your smooth muscle. Look at your fibrous cap of your vulnerable plaque, and look at your fibrous cap of your what you call it, your stable plaque. Your five vulnerable plaques, they have a thin fibrous cap, whereas your stable plaque, they have your thick fibrous cap. Correct. And one more thing is your vulnerable plaque, they have higher amount of macrophages compared to your stable plaque. Okay, if you see both your plaques, that is your vulnerable plaque and your stable plaque, there is more deposition of your macrophages in your vulnerable plaques than your stable plaques. So generally your macrophages, they produce or they release your metalloproteases. Okay, so your macrophages, they give out metalloproteases, and these metalloproteases, they generally, they disrupt or they degrade your collagen. So collagen of your fibrous cap, if it is getting disrupted, then it becomes vulnerable. Okay, so three important things, differences between your vulnerable plaque and your stable plaque. First and foremost, your vulnerable plaque, it has lots of fats. Okay, so they have a lot of fats. Fatty deposition is more. Second is lots of your thin fibrous cap, and lastly, more amount of macrophages. So we were talking about your changes that occurs in your atherosclerotic plaques. Your changes are being brought about by your acute changes. Okay, so let's talk about your acute changes. In this case, your acute changes is being brought about by ulceration. In case of ulceration, I'll just draw your plaque. So this is your plaque, and your fibrous cap is covered by a dysfunctional endothelial layer. This is your dysfunctional endothelial layer. In case of ulceration, what happens is there is degradation of your endothelial layer, thereby exposing of your lower layers, but your core is not exposed. There is a core is not exposed, only a surface of your endothelial layer is degraded. Because of your degradation of your endothelial layer, what happens is there is going to be platelet aggregation. So there is aggregation of your platelet taking place in case of ulceration. Now second was in case of your fissure and your rupture. Okay, again drawing your plaque. Okay, this is your plaque, this is your endothelial layer. Generally your fissuring or your rupture, they occur in your area where your fibrous cap meets your normal lining of your blood vessel, because in this area this area has your thinnest lining of your fibrous cap. So whenever your fissuring or your rupturing occurs, in this case also there is generally leads to platelet aggregation. Okay, there is platelet aggregation. There is a process of your platelet aggregation taking place. Since platelet aggregation takes place, if the condition is worse, your whenever your platelet aggregation takes place, and if your condition is worse, then there may be your process of coagulation may take place, and if coagulation occurs, there will be formation of thrombus. Okay, so if fissure is occurring, that is your cracks is occurring, or there is your entire rupturing of your atherosclerotic plaque, and under this condition also there is going to be platelet aggregation. Now if your luck is bad, then it may lead to the process of coagulation. So whenever coagulation takes place, there will be formation of your thrombus occurring. If this is your blood vessel, this is your atherosclerotic plaque, there is your rupturing occurring, okay, and because of that there is your formation of platelet aggregation taking place, and on top of platelet aggregation taking place, what is occurring is there is clotting of your blood occurring, and followed by a formation of your thrombus. So this will cause more blockage to your blood flow. So this is a simple diagram of showing you how your rupturing is occurring. Okay, so this is your rupturing occurring in your atherosclerotic plaque. This is your entire blood vessel. So because of your rupture, formation of your see the changes. Lastly, the entire diagram showing you the process of superadded changes, your atheroma, which may either be vulnerable. So if it is vulnerable, they may either be erosion, they may either be ulceration, they may either be rupture or fissuring occurring. In most of the cases, it will be followed by platelet aggregation and it will undergo healing. That is, if the person is better. Other cases, if it does not go under healing and then undergoes a process of coagulation, there is a formation of your thrombus. So in certain cases, your thrombus may totally occlude your blood vessel. Okay, so we were saying uh, this is your blood vessel, right? This is a formation of your atherosclerosis. So this atherosclerosis, if it is stable, there won't be any changes occurring. If it is unstable, changes may occur. So because of your changes occurring, there may be formation of your platelet aggregation, and this platelet aggregation can go and heal itself. And if healing does not occur and there is formation of your clotting, then in the end there will be the formation of your thrombus. Now, depending upon your size of your thrombus occurring, your thrombus may totally occlude your artery. This is a total blockage of your artery. And if your size is smaller, it will not totally occlude your artery. So obstruction after your formation of your thrombus depends upon your size of your thrombus being formed as well. Lastly is your non-atherosclerotic causes. Now, under your non-atherosclerotic causes, there is your vasospasm, stenosis of your coronary ostia, arteritis,